Welcome back to Heavy Duty Conversations. In this episode, we're excited to have Kevin Dye back with us. Kevin is an expert in heavy duty training and Mike Mentzer. So join us as we delve into some intriguing topics such as partial reps, Mike Mentzer's legacy, the role of genetics in bodybuilding, and we're talking about some future secret projects concerning Mike Mentzer. So grab your coffee, sit back, and welcome to Heavy Duty Conversations.
Welcome, Kevin, to Heavy Duty
Thank you.
Conversations. We
Thanks
talked
for
already.
having me.
Yeah, we talked already a few weeks ago. Yeah, we had a great talk, and
Yeah.
but I think we both found that there was so much to talk about, so much topics that you wanted to share with us.
Yeah.
So let's continue today.
Sounds good.
Yeah, okay. So in the podcast number 4, when we were talking as number 4 already, we were talking about the quarter reps or 1/3
Yeah.
reps. And you wrote this in your book, Heavy Duty Memoirs.
Yeah.
And there were still many questions of many people actually, that exactly how it works, how should we do the exercise, which exercises are good for it and which are not, because I can imagine that not every exercise is really great for it. So
yeah. Okay. It works with stretch exercise, of course. Stretch, you get, and it's a feel thing. You know what I mean? Like, you don't so much. Someone once asked me when I first started, how do you know how far to go up on a curl? If you actually feel the curl, you feel where maximum tension is, and it's actually at the 1/3 part. Laterals, if you raise your arms away from your body, you can actually feel that is it. That's where the maximum tension. When you work in your chest, you squeeze, and that's it. You know what I mean? If I pushed any further, it would take the tension off my chest. Lats are probably the easiest because it's only a very short range of motion, maybe 6 inches at the most. With calves, quite easy, obviously, from a stretch to a quarter way, you can feel where the tension's about to peak out. And with the quads, which I do on my leg spread, of course, I get to the just before parallel and I go up, I can just feel where the tension's about to throw off onto my hips or whatever. So it's a feel type of thing. And you're right, not every exercise suits it. So it's a mix and match. With me, I'm still learning now. I mean, we're forever learning. We never stop learning in our lives. But I've learned my own body, of course. I know what suits me. If you haven't got a knotless chest press, which not many people have, decline press works perfect for it. That's what I was doing before I got the knotless chest press. But a simple thing like laterals, I mean, if you do them that way rather than throw them up here and use momentum, all my trainees had the same thing to me. My shoulders taken off. It's just what happens, you know what I mean? And it's a beautiful system because when you fail, it's not like you're failing on a sticking point and you can't get past that. I coin it as a purer level of failure. And it is. When you fail, you fail. There's no thinking, oh, if I could have just got past there, maybe I could have done half a rep, another rep. No. Once you failed, you failed. And that is pure and simple. I never come out of my gym thinking I could have done another rep, ever. I never have. But with this, I know. I mean, today I trained chest, shoulders, and triceps. And when I failed, I just failed. You just die in the water, and that's it. And it's a very good psychological thing because you're not left wanting ever.
But with some exercises, because I'm also a little bit experimenting with it, because I'm very intrigued in the system. You have to find certain angles also, like for dumbbells, you cannot just do a stand up a dumbbell curl, because when you straighten your arms, because you do only the lower portion, you do not go further than halfway, let's say. So if you straighten your arm, you stand straight, there's no tension on the biceps anymore.
Incline curls.
Incline curls, you want to have a certain angle. That if
exactly.
like with the preacher curl, I'm doing myself concentration curls with my elbow resting inside of my leg, and then I go a little bit leaning backwards. That if my arm is straight, there is full tension on the biceps. That would not happen because of gravity when you have your arm straight. So this is something very important. I think is also with the lateral raise. When you're just standing straight, there's no tension here. So you want to create a little bit of an angle.
Yeah.
That I'm now myself playing around, lying on my bench and lying on my side. So you have really a pulling. Yeah, you're really pulling the side of yeah. What I wanted to say is for the back of my shoulder, because this is part is lacking. So I'm really lying like this, and it is really stretching the muscles from the back. That if you're raising, and it's purely, even here, it's still a stretch. While if you're doing a bend over and you're holding your arms and you do the row, this part does nothing because there's no stretch, there's no pulling, and this is something that you want to create.
Yeah, I mean, lucky you know your body well, like I do. So you know what works. You only got to do it maybe one workout to know what works for you. When I picked up the system, quarter rep, I knew straight away. I knew I was onto something special, and I can't imagine a reason to do it full reps again, honestly. And you see more and more research. I'm seeing videos all the time on YouTube saying what I already know. You know what I mean? It's not to say I know everything, but it's like I feel like I got it on the ground floor in a way because people are backing up and there's more and more research all the time what I already know, which is fantastic because not that I need anyone to say, you know this. Like Mike Mentzer, he didn't need people to back him up. He just knew what he knew from training clients. I train people, but I also know at the same time is that if I use an exercise that doesn't feel right, no biggie. But for the shoulders, I think two things work for me, and that's seated laterals and high pulls, which I learned off Bill Sarley. And you pull just before belly button level and hold it for a second, and just that range of motion. And my shoulders ache, and I've never had aching shoulders. I don't know about you, I've tried everything in my life to get aching shoulders. Only once I tried quarter reps did I get aching shoulders. I've never had aching, and we're talking about what, 40 years. It's a long time to want something and never get it. But with my calves, they're all sore, of course. My quads are all sore. My chest, we spoke about before, it's killing me as we speak. And that's, what, 12 and a half hours? And the chest is really kicking in. Mike Mentzer said he never got sore. I'm always sore. When I get out of bed tomorrow and hobble to the toilet, I'm sore.
Yeah.
It's just the way I'm made, I guess.
Yeah, I have this also. I mean, especially with my legs now. When normally when I would do my because I train at home, of course, so I have limited equipment. When I'm doing sissy squats, and then as a third exercise, because I do at this moment I do calf raises, sissy squats, leg curl with a dumbbell between my legs, also partials, because when you do a dumbbell leg curl, you cannot do full repetitions because there's absolutely no tension when you have your legs up. So you have to do partials. And at the last exercise, I'm doing a belt squat. But when I do the sissy squats and I do them as deep as I can, you stretch the top of your quads so much that the next day I have muscle pain, unbelievable. I have it for about 3 days. I have problem walking. And before I did not have that. I would do sissy squats, but not all the way down. So I really touch my knees to the ground. The repetitions are about 5 seconds negative. Touch my knees. Then I really try to hang as far back as possible, like you're stretching your quads. And you feel it all the way on the top. And I never ever had that with any exercise, not with a squat, not with a leg press, not with a machine hack squat, never like this. And the muscle pain is so incredible, and my legs are growing again. I mean, so there is something about this stretch mediated, this high tension. There's so much more stress there in the muscles.
It's funny you said about you start with calf raises. I was watching something from a muscle physiologist just the other day, and he said to start with calf raises. He said because you're stretching your Achilles tendon out, which makes sense. And I've done this for years anyway. That's how I got bigger calves. You start with your calves because then you stretch your Achilles tendon out, and you actually get a better range of motion on your quads.
Okay.
And it's just good to hear someone who's an authority. This guy's got all these degrees. It's just good to hear someone in authority confirming what you already know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've told a couple of people since, like, oh yeah, that makes sense,
I started doing calves in the beginning of my exercise simply because if I do all the other exercises and I finish off with a squat or a leg press or whatever, I don't feel like pushing everything in my calves. And my calves need hard work. They need high reps. And it's for the first time in my whole life, actually, that I do this. Because before, when I was younger, well, you do your workout and calves, well, if you had some energy, you do it or you don't do it. Because calves are boring. Calves are not nice to do. I mean, calves. I mean, nobody's standing in front of the mirror checking out their calves. They're all checking out their arms, the chest, maybe your back. The calves, no, never.
Maybe I'm the only one.
Yeah, probably, but probably because they started growing. Because when they start growing, like now, yeah, now I'm looking at them, and because I start with them. And I start my workout with it. I get into the mood from the workout itself also. And you get so much more out of your calf exercise because they need.
After quads, I got nothing. After quads, I'm like you. Once I've done quads, I wish my and all I can think of, sit down. So, the last thing I want to do is think about calves.
Yeah.
So, 3 steps that lead into the house. So I've got to shuffle down the driveway up these 3 steps, a quick sit down, and then maybe a protein shake. But I got to sit down. You know what I mean? I can't think about doing after quads. And last workout, I done 20 reps again with 5 kilos than what I'd done last time, 5 kilos extra. I think you talked about last time. I'll be maxing out my leg sled probably mid-year. We're going to go from there. It's going to be interesting. But the point is, when you've finished working your biggest muscle, you don't want to work anything else.
No.
Not if
this is what I wanted to say. If you do it right, you don't feel like it. No. You have to.
Well, I had an argument with a guy on the internet the other day. He was trying to say, "Oh, Mike Mentzer didn't give you enough and more." I said, "No." I said, "When you train properly, more is the last thing on your mind." I've never thought about more. You know what I mean? I think about less. I never think about more.
If you think, especially with the big workouts, big exercises, the heavy exercises, the leg press, back, deadlifts, exercises like that. If you finish your set and you think, well, I'm going to do one more, you did not train hard enough. Really, I mean, you want to put, and I finally got through some colleague of mine also. I know we know each other already now for I think 17, 18 years or something. And he was always doing high volume, always, and I always had problem with his shoulders, always problem with his elbows. And he looked good, but he always had pain, always had problems. And then he sees what I'm doing, he sees how I'm looking. And finally, he got into his head that he's doing less. Normally, he would do 3 or 4 exercises for biceps, 3, 4 exercises for chest. And I say, I do 1 exercise for chest, 1 exercise for biceps, and that's it. I mean, and we look the same. So, and finally, he cut down in his volume and he started growing again. The pain goes away. All these things are changing because you're abusing your system. And maybe when you're younger, you can get away with it, but it's something that builds up over time. It doesn't go from one workout to the other that suddenly you have chronic pains. No, that grows, that goes and it goes up and it grows up. And suddenly you have pain and it stays for months and maybe for years before it gets away. Because we love to, we love to train. So to say, okay, I'm not going to train for 1 year. Nobody's going to do that. So you keep on training and you keep on having that problem. So finally,
on checkouts with the only moving products, the scanner over very small motion, they end up getting carpal tunnel syndrome and everything. I was watching a video about the other day. I'm thinking the only moving products like bags and stuff or cans or whatever, and that's just there to there. Mm-hmm. No great stress in that, but it's a repetitive motion. And someone once told me many years ago, which made sense to me, your joints have only got so many bends in them. You know what I mean? If you use up all your bends well before your time, you're going to get problems. Yeah. And it makes sense because when I used to jog, I don't jog, I haven't jogged for years. When I used to jog, even though I was much lighter then, I always had aching in my joints. Not a good aching, a bad aching. And I listened to Mike Mentzer because he was jogging back in the day. So I do my heavy-duty workouts. I jog for a mile, sprint as much as I could back. But then as much as I had muscle soreness from the workouts, I also had the bad joint problems that came with it. And I was 16 through to 18, and I knew something was wrong even then. And that was a repetitive motion of jogging. You know what I mean? And if you read, as Mike Mentzer once said, if you read these running magazines, a good portion of it is dedicated to injuries. that tells you to itself, you know what I mean? Why would you dedicate a portion of a healthy sport to injuries? You know, there's got to be something in it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
No.
Second question, was you wrote me that you were writing an article called The Legendary Duo just before Joe and Sharky passed away. So what was the article all about, and are you still going to publish it?
Yeah, I've got about 4 pages of it written. It's on a hard drive. I worked it out in my mind before I wrote the article. I talked to Joanne about it, and she was all excited about it. I came up with the concept one day. I was waiting for my kids to get out of school, and you used to have to get there early, otherwise you don't get a park. It's, it's a very small parking place. So I used to walk around the block, and I knew I had another article due for her, and I was thinking, what could I write it on? I've covered all my heavy-duty journey. And then I thought, well, I've had 2 mentors in my life, Mike Mentzer and Bruce Lee. And then I realized how similar they were. Mike Mentzer was a maverick of bodybuilding. Bruce was a maverick of martial arts, both known to go against the grain, go against dogma. Mike wanted to get the essence of bodybuilding. Bruce Lee wanted to get the essence of martial arts. So I talked to Joanne and I said, and like I said, if she'd still be alive, it would be printed now or published now. And I wrote slowly because I wanted to get it right. You know what I mean? I knew a lot about Bruce Lee. I've got a massive Bruce Lee collection like you wouldn't believe. I've got literally drawers of stuff of Bruce Lee. I was obsessed when I was 16. So I was going to write the article and draw the correlation. I wanted to get it just right. Of course, I know about Mike Mentzer. It was easy with the Mike Mentzer part. And then, unfortunately, she passed. We didn't talk for a few months before she passed. I knew she was busy and she had a few problems. And then, I hope to publish it one day because it's a great article and it'll get people thinking, what's the word I want to say? To get to the essence. You know what I mean? That's what Mike Mentzer wanted. That's why I wanted to write the article. If you get the essence of bodybuilding, you don't think about more. You don't think about, maybe I should do another one of these or another one of them or train another day. You don't think that way. Me and you probably don't even think that way. And that's why we wrote the article. It's a shame that she passed away, of course, but that would have been out about probably 2 years ago now.
Okay.
But unfortunately, like I said, I got the 4 chapters straight throw away from me. I will eventually finish it. It was going to be about an 8-page article, so I'm probably about halfway. So, I'll eventually finish it. There's something in the works which I can't talk about. So at the end of this year, definitely be finished probably.
Okay.
So
you talk with John Little about it because he's a big
no, John.
Bruce Lee fan.
I talked to John Little about Bruce Lee because I told John Little I tracked down the nurse, the male nurse, when Bruce Lee came in, and that was no easy feat. And I tracked him down back in 2003, and he said if Bruce Lee had been alive, he would have gone out screaming. His brain was 3 times the size in his head, and he said, he was already deceased, of course, by the time he got to the hospital. But he was the male nurse in the emergency room when he got rushed in. And I told John Little that, and he was surprised himself, But it's no easy feat to track this guy down.
I can imagine.
Many channels to track this guy down. But he was honest with me. That's what I wanted.
Yeah, there's a lot of mystic around the death of Bruce Lee also. Yeah. If you see the documentary also about him, the way he was training.
I trained with Dan Santo once. My mate brought Dan Santo over. I got him in the corner of the gym and I asked Dan Santo face to face. I said, how did Bruce die? He just smirked at me and walked away. He didn't want to talk about it.
No.
Oh, well.
And then later on, his son on the movie set. Also mysterious, Brandon Lee. Yeah,
that was shame actually.
Yeah. It's all conspiracy and strange.
You heard about all that,
you don't know. I mean, you don't know half of what happened. I mean, we had already a nice talk before we started recording about all the conspiracies and about the 1980s Mr. Olympia, even that there's so much at play that we don't even know about.
Maybe, we'll never.
We never. maybe you don't even want to know. You don't want to know how the world turns and how it's being run. Just enjoy life. It's nicer.
Yeah. I know sometimes to know less is best.
yeah. If you want to have a clear conscience, For me, actually, maybe it's not a big deal. I can wipe it off from me. I mean, if I know how the world works, I still don't care. I just do my own thing. I live my own life. I don't have Dutch TV. I live in the Netherlands. I do not have a Dutch TV. I don't follow the Dutch news. I don't know what's going around me, and I hear the people complaining about this goes up, but this goes down, and this goes up, and this goes bad, and this. I don't care. I just do my thing, do my internet thing. I have my wife. I have my house. My kids are healthy. So that's most important for me.
We get the same here. It lives from England, and we don't live in England, of course. We haven't lived in England since I was 4. And the troubles that go on with no offense, the troubles that go on with my family in England, that's their problem. I live in Australia. So, as my dad said, he goes, we can't cover their problems and our problems as well. So,
no, I have one golden rule. If you can't fix it, just forget it.
Yeah,
because it's going to eat you up.
Yeah.
If you can
there's a lot of problems with my family. Yeah. I mean, when grandfather died, someone broke in his shed. We roughly know who it is. Stole all his tools, stole all his stuff. He's the one that used to paint for the Queen. He's got pictures in Buckingham Palace. He used to do it for the Queen. They had a lot of good stuff out there. We've got one of the pictures. Lucky my mother brought it over from England. Lance Dye, his name was. And when he died, straight away, someone stole all his stuff. We roughly know who it is. We can't prove it.
Yeah.
But my family writes to my father. And my father, we live in Australia. We can't go finger pointing and blaming people and getting involved with that stuff. But yeah, I don't know why. I think they got a vent sometimes, and because we're so far away, it's easy to vent to us,
Yeah, but I think that's also something maybe that Mike Mentzer should have done. That just forget about it. Forget about his 1980. Forget about the whole.
Well, when we talked about it in '95, he was still mad about it. But like he said, he goes, they can have it. He said the powers that he said they can have it. He said, I want to know part of it. And like we were talking before, he was a man of principle. So saying he was a crybaby. He should have come back in 81. No, Mike was a man of principle. He didn't want to go be part of something that was corrupt, blatantly corrupt, I should say. And so he just wiped his hand and walked away, which I give him credit for. That was his livelihood. That was his career. That was his everything. I mean, he was making so much money with heavy-duty stuff back then, and he just turned his back on it, which you got to give the man more credit than anything, because then he looked at other avenues with his Workout magazine, and he brought out the heavy-duty video, and he was looking at other avenues, but he had the conviction just to say, no, I don't want to be part of this.
No.
And it takes a strong man to do that.
Yeah, well, he was not a sore loser because he lost before, but it's all about how and how everything works. I mean, everybody who is on the stage, they want to win. But if you don't win and the other one was better, so be it. That's it.
Yeah.
But if the other one is not better, and there are even few people are much better than we're not going to name names, but we all know who we're talking about, then it should not win. I mean, in my opinion, Mike should not have won. He should probably not even be a second, but a third. I think so, yeah. And
Mike never said he should have won. That's the one thing people don't realize. Mike never said he should have won. Mike knew it. But on the other hand, he knew he shouldn't have won. And so did everybody else on that stage, every single person. So, the judge, they actually, I don't know if you know this, the judge, they actually marked Arnold down on the pre-judging, disappeared, was replaced.
Yeah.
And he was kicked out of the IPB.
But did they, because they had a whole camera crew with them. It was for Australian television, and it was never televised because of all the booing.
Exactly. Which they blocked out of the, you've seen the video, I think I've got the video. They blocked it all out because it's not good for business.
No,
people trying to seats and throwing stuff on stage. I told you before, Frank Zane, I can't remember the other champ, could have been Boyko, was seen smashing their trophy in the car park by friends that I knew, because they flew over to see the competition. They're not sore losers. You don't hear about Frank Zane walking of losing, but to smash a trophy because they were so repulsed by what they saw speaks in itself, Yeah, I think it was Frank Zane. I can't remember the other champ. I think it was Boyko, which Boyko's a real gentleman. But to smash a trophy in the car park out front of the Festival Theatre speaks for itself.
Yeah. So next question is, what were your biggest mistakes during your fitness journey? I mean, we all made them, and
Oh,
we hope that people can learn from our mistakes
yeah.
and don't make the same mistakes. But what were yours?
My biggest one by far, which I dread to look back on, back in '88 with Mike Mentzer absent, I fell for the slick advertising. You know, my girlfriend at the time, we were looking through a bodybuilder magazine. It had that Bulgarian burst, which later became Serious Growth, you know, Leo Costa Jr. So I talked to her about it, and she said, if you want to do it by yourself. Even she was a bit, I went, okay. So I recruited my neighbor, lucky. So the book came. It was 2 workouts a day, 6 days a week. Plus I was working in a gym. So virtually I was living in the gym. So he'd come over in the morning before I went to the gym. We'd train. He'd go off to work. I'd go to the gym. I'd come home. He'd meet me in my gym at about 10 o'clock at night. We'd train again. And then 2 weeks I'd done this. I was 26 then. I fell asleep all over the place, literally. My friends took me out for my birthday. It was around the same time. I fell asleep. I went away camping with a friend. He went away to the town with somebody to get something, come back. I was asleep. I couldn't stay awake. And it was summer. So, you know, it's always hot around March here. And I was well warmed up. We were halfway through the workout. I was doing presses. And even though I was warmed up, my body finally told me it was enough. And I was doing presses. You actually hear it. My left trap gave way. I heard a twang noise. Literally, it went twang. And lucky you grabbed the bar. And my trap just stopped me from the insanity. We finished the workout there. I finished the system there. And to get over that period, which was 2 weeks, it took me probably a good month. My joints were aching. My mental state, you know what I mean? Like I was working in the gym, I was training in the gym. That was my life. That's not good for everybody. You know what I mean? 2 weeks, lucky my body said, no, this is enough. You know, you're not going to do it anymore. And he was happy to give it up too because he's a small, skinny guy. And yeah, that was probably my biggest step in the wrong direction. And then luckily Mike come back. After that, you go back to heavy duty. But Mike came back a few years later in the 90s as a trainer. I put that in. So I actually gave the book away to a friend. He collects books, so those type of books. So I gave it to him. Now he's got all editions of that book because it was like Bulgarian Burst 1, Bulgarian Burst 2 or something, Serious Growth 2, Serious Growth 3, and he's got the collection and he's welcome to it. But that was just the silliest thing I ever done. That really was. If I wasn't training, I was working in a gym. If I wasn't working in a gym, I was training. That's not good for anybody.
Yeah. What do you think happened? Your nervous system just shut down?
Yeah, I was just fried. You know what I mean? Like, I just fried. I was 26. My crypto was like at a peak, basically. I was eating well, sleeping well. The fact my body balked and told me, no, we're not going to let you do this to us anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And that was really weird. I've never had an injury like that ever before since. It just, literally a twang went off at the back of my trapezius. And so obviously I couldn't train for a few days anyway. And then I thought about it. I think I took a whole week, maybe even 2 weeks off. That was a big step in the wrong direction. So that was showing more. The extreme was not better.
No. And you talked about something like super squats. I know squats.
Yeah.
I know supersets, super squats.
The book came out around the same time, I think the whole year or around the later year, 88. And any book you've got to get here, I used to special order, like all Darden's books, Ellington Darden. I used to special order. And one day I got a phone call from the post office. Your book's in. So from here to the shops is about 20, 30 minutes. I went and picked up my super squats, tried to read it while I was walking, which I've never done before, which is dangerous with traffic. And I got home and it was about the old 20 rep squats 3 times a week, as much milk as you humanly can consume. And that was the gist of it. I became obsessed with squats. It was the last thing I thought of before I went to bed. The first thing I thought of when I got up, if I went to the toilet at night, squats. I'd be out with friends talking about squats, thinking about squats. Squats was my life. I've done this for about a month. And I remember how much my joints were aching, my knees in particular. And I was thinking, this can't be healthy. You know what I mean? Like to think of anything else but squats. I'd be out with friends, like, where can I get milk? I'd leave Thursday to go down the road because we've got a little supermarket down the road and I get full cream milk. I even found lactate, which you put in milk to help absorb it better. I bought lactate, which gives you the runs. anyway, a month of this super squats and just, I can't do this. And not that I gained either, because my joints were hurting so much. But it was a little adventure that I can say it was in the wrong direction. You know what I mean? Like squatting 3 times a week, no one should do if you squat properly. And not just that, you're supposed to put on 2.5 kilos every workout to your squat. At an advanced level, that's next to impossible. Yeah. I don't care who you know. And I think I got another 30 kilos on my squat or something like that. My knees couldn't take it anymore. So yeah, big step in the wrong direction.
Again. Again. Back in the 90s, I think the brand name is Cybergenics.
I had a mate who trained something. He grew great, small guy. He said points.
I did it also for my first competition. Really? All boxed with pills from Cybergenics and a fitness program along with it, and with the squats. What you did was I think 12 reps of squats towards failure, and so you can't make another full rep anymore. Then you put the weight back, and then you start jumping as high as you can immediately afterwards. Jumping as high as you can until you can't jump anymore, and then you would do still body weight squats until you couldn't do anymore. Crazy stuff like that.
That's crazy.
I even got gynecomastia from this.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I have no idea. It was only one side. I don't know, because we were drug tested at that competition, and I mean nobody used by us. I mean, I was 67 kilos on the competition at 5'11", so no, I didn't use anything, but I got gynecomastia from this. I don't know if it was from the pills, because I think, if I remember, it were 6 different ones and all different components and things like this. Pretty expensive, but of course it didn't do anything. But I don't know if it, because the whole workout program was based on supersets and crazy stuff like the squat and with the jumping and all these things, and everybody were looking at me, what crap are you what are you doing, that after squatting then still jumping and then do the body weight squats till you couldn't move anymore. So crazy stuff like that. Kids, don't do that at home, because it doesn't work.
Came out back in the 90s, hot stuff. Do you remember it?
Yeah.
They got caught out with putting Dynavol in the first batch.
Yeah, I think so. There was a lot of them.
Why this? They got caught out. So,
I mean, many top athletes also, they get sponsored by some brand name, and they put all kinds of crap, because if you buy a protein powder or whatever supplement and they put some anabolics in there, it works. So you're going to buy more of it. It doesn't just have to be a little bit in it. So I don't know if they did this with the Cybergenics, or I really did, because I was so low in my fat percentage. Because at the day of the competition, I was a little bit over 3%. Anyway, this is what they measured back then on the expo. Sorry?
The gynecomastia went away?
It went away. Yeah. It never stayed. It was very lightly, but it was there. I mean, it's like back in the day when you were a 14, 15-year-old kid, you started to change your body. Some guys had it also just from themselves, and it went away. And this also went away. It was not very heavy or something. It was just only one side. So I don't know if it, because my fat percentage was so low and I ask so much from my body, that your own testosterone drops.
Oh, yeah.
Like crazy. So your estrogen level is compared to your testosterone a little bit too high. Could be from this or from the crap they were putting in there in the 90s.
You never know.
We'll never know. But it was a funny experiment.
Yeah.
You live and learn. Yeah, you live and learn. And this is the whole thing why we do this podcast also, of course, that people can learn from our stupid mistakes, especially the young guys. Yeah. What were your best growth spurts during your 40 years of training? What gave you the best results?
Yeah, I can think of 3 off the top of my head. I'll tell you a great story. Back in 88, no matter what I'd done, I was stuck at 78 kilos. And we're talking about the 20 rep squats and drinking milk like it was going out of style. For 2 years, I was 78 kilos. I just couldn't, no matter what I'd done, I couldn't get bigger. And again, special order, I got Ellington Darden's big. It was Christmas Day, the day before Christmas, 1988. And I had a girlfriend that worked in the city, and she worked next to an ex-girlfriend. She worked next to the bookstore. So I rang her up. I said, look, I can't get to the city because, Christmas preparations. I said, can you pick this book up for me and I'll give you the money? So she said, yeah, no worries. And I waited and I waited and I waited. And it's like midnight. And she lived in the base of the hills. And I didn't know she was going to a Christmas party. And she rang me like midnight. She said, I just got home. I got your book. And okay, Christmas Eve. So I drove up to the base of the hills, gave her the $20, picked up my book, devoured it till 3 a.m. And I thought, this is the answer, super slow. So, nothing else worked at the time. So I started Ellington Darden's big. Within 2 weeks, I was 80 kilos. After 2 years of trying to get there, I couldn't believe myself. I wake up in the morning, weigh myself 80 kilos. I went, wow. So I kept with super slow for the next 2 years, never gained anything more. So it's like initial spurt, and that was it. I talked to Ken Hutchins. I got all his courses. I got all his books, both courses. I talked to his wife even, and I even got the Super Slow T-shirt. That's how obsessed I was. So that was my first big growth spurt. The second one was the consolidation routine, which Mike took 3 months to talk me into. And I thought, this sounds too little. Even me, I thought, this is too little. Consolidation routine, if it wasn't for the mental stress, which we talked about last time, waiting 1 week, that worked great. And the last time I had a big growth spurt was maximum contraction training. I was on a holiday in Queensland, and I was thinking about this maximum contraction. It was in all the magazines, and I thought, it's got to be something to it. And so I came back. I was refreshed after a week away, and I started maximum contraction training, which was 6 sets, full body once a week. And at the time, we had a newborn, which was keeping me awake every night. She never slept for 2 years. She had a twin that didn't make her, so she wouldn't sleep through the night. 3 a.m, So I went without sleep for 2 years, basically. I was doing security, which was 12 hours every Saturday night. I was studying IT, and I lived about nearly an hour away from my gym, half an hour to an hour. So I could only get here once a week. So every Wednesday, I had a great friend. I trained him to help him. He'd come here, he'd train with me, he'd drop me to my course, he'd go home, come pick me up because my ex needed the car for the kids. And I grew like crazy the 2 weeks, only 2 weeks I'd done it. And it was a matter of holding the static for as long as possible. I tried 6 seconds was the average. Like I said, 6 sets, the whole workout was 12 minutes maybe, and I grew like crazy. But statically holding a weight rather than dynamically moving it messes with the head. There's no enjoyment in it. It's like watching grass grow or paint dry, you know what I mean?
Like super slow.
That's why eventually I even wrote a paper when I went back to the adult. I wrote a whole paper for my PE course on super slow, which was an analytical, and it was pretty thick actually. I said every aspect of it, including my gains. But yeah, super slow bores me to tears. I couldn't do super slow now if you paid me.
And how slow is super slow?
10 seconds up, 10 down I was doing. Yeah. Which, you can feel it, but the weights I was using were very dismal. I mean, when I look back, my God, to progress 4 to 6 reps took you over a month to maybe progress 1 or 2 reps.
Yeah.
Which is very unfulfilling psychologically. So I would never do super slow again. I don't think I've done it since.
I think when you change it, the super slow to 5-5 and do quarter reps.
Yeah.
Because I think with the super slow also, I mean, I don't want to stir anything, but when you do the super slow, when you do the chest press, the last part is more triceps than chest.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you are doing the super slow and this part is less chest activation.
Yeah. And you put more wrist too.
Also, yeah. So from that moment on,
wrist.
Yeah. And when you do your negative, after a while, you feel the tension coming back in your chest.
Yeah.
So if you just do the 5 seconds and the 5 seconds, I think it would be maybe even better than you do the full repetitions with 5-5.
What did you pick for 5-5? He said it was random. he admitted to me, he said, it's random. He said, a pull down, which is longer range of motion, he goes, would obviously be longer than 5.5.
Yeah.
And I said, why did you pick 5.5? And he just said to me, it was a random thing. He said, it was an average, all the body parts. It was safe for his trainees, which number one rule of any trainer is to the safety of your clients, of course. So even Mike knew that 5.5 was random.
Yeah.
4.4, 5, 6, 6, 8, 8. It's all random. You know what I mean? Like, well, I learned from my Nautilus years and learning with Mike, 2.4, I don't need to think about it. 2.4 will just come natural to me. I can't think of any other way to train. You know, but with the quarters, because it's half again, it's more like 1-2.
Yeah,
So
I have the same with 2.5, and I think you have to also figure out yourself, because if you're an average Dutch person, Dutch guy average is 6 foot, 6'1" average, and average Italian is maybe 5'5", 5'6". So there's a different range of motion. So if you're both, if you do not understand it, you think, oh, I have to do 10 seconds down, and you're 5'5" or you're 7 foot even. It's a completely different range of motion, and so a completely different speed. So I think if you want to just have the understanding that if you want to do the super slow, that you keep on moving the weight, the resistance, and when you're taller, it goes faster than when you're shorter. So I think for the people, they have to have the understanding that the size difference is, I mean, also with an exercise like a machine pullover, that's a much greater range of motion than when you do a dumbbell curl. So if you both do 10-10, let's say, because we're or 5.5, that's a completely different speed.
You notice Ellington only wrote about it in the one book. I mean, Ellington's brought out many books since then. He actually sent me his new school bodybuilding because I'm such a fan. It was nice of him. He put it in a big box with padding, and he sent me a free copy, which was lovely, the bloke. I've actually lost it since. I don't know where it's got to. But Ellington never wrote about really super slow again. He used it in the one book, and then he kind of like moved away from it after that. He must have realized had limited. Still make Robert. He had
he's now busy with his 30-30-30 and 30-10.
We talked about that.
And 10-10-10.
Well, he said to me less. When I talked to him about it last, he said to me, because I've got predominantly fast twitch fibers, he admitted to me, he goes, because you've got fast twitch, he said, I do less. I mean, I tried it once. And he said to me, even back then, he said, maybe 5 up, 5 down will be good, better for you, or 10 up, 10 down, rather than 30. And Mark Dugdale, I used to talk to Mark Dugdale, who trained with Donnie Yates and he used it for a while, but I don't think he's such a big fan now either.
No. And the max contraction, that's from John Little, right?
Yeah, John Little. Yeah, that's where Mike Mentzer basically got his static contraction from.
Yeah, because when you're saying that you first did the super slow, it worked for a while. Then the max contraction, and it worked for a while. Then I think I remember John Little saying that everything works until it doesn't. And I think that's the point, because your body is great in adapting. I mean, that's why we came so far in evolution also, because it's constantly has to adapt to certain, and it doesn't want to adapt, but it has to adapt. So it wants to adapt as least as possible. But I think your body can adapt to a certain intensity. I mean, you do not have to change your exercises, because anyway, the range of motion is the same, or the contractions are the same. This is what I want to say.
Well, today I tried a superset. I haven't done supersets for ages, but for my triceps, just something different. I've done quarter up overhead tricep extensions, because the genetics of my family don't let you have your arm over your head. Our front trapezius is just the way we're made. So I've done a set of them. Right next to me is my arm machine. I've done that. I jumped straight on the arm machine. Even as we speak now, my triceps from the elbow to the back of the tricep is killing me, like my chest. It'll get used to that. I won't do it every workout. It's just like experiment today. I'll probably skip it next workout, maybe try the workout after. Like Mike Mentzer was always experimenting, and that's where he wanted me and anybody else to be. He wants you to keep the principles as we've talked about, but experiment within your own body. And I mean, for me to do a bench press would be a waste of time. I don't get anything out of benches. Me doing an overhead press, which I learned today, experimenting, I'm not made for overhead presses. I'm really not. I mean, that is the range of motion. I talked to my doctor about it. He said, My dad, he's got the same thing. Our front dell and anterior dell actually touches our trapezius, which stops our range of motion. So that's why decline stuff is perfect, because it's only down here, which is the way your chest works anyway.
Yeah, I think it's also finding the right exercises for your body type.
Yeah.
Where you have the most stretch, because we talk about always about range of motion, but that I learned this also a short while ago, that the range of motion of your muscles is the difference than the range of motion of an exercise.
Yeah, yeah.
Like for biceps, you can move all the way here, but if you go further than here, there's no, the muscle is already fully contracted. It doesn't have to move further than a certain while.
Remember the old Nautilus machine? They didn't have them around for very long.
Yeah. The up.
I was talking to a guy last night, funny enough. He inherited it from his father. He wanted it growing up because his father was big. He was a bodybuilder. He inherited it recently. His dad drove it to his house in a truck, and he's got a picture online. He's got a little video about it. And I remember using it once going back. Oh boy, this was going back probably mid 80s. And my bicep just cramped up. I couldn't do more than, say, 2 or 3. It just wasn't suited to me. I couldn't, as good as it was, have your arm here and the actual cramp, not made for me.
Yeah.
That's why they didn't make many. I mean, Arthur Jones made as many errors as he made successes. He's honest about that. He wasted something like $120 million. He admits it. So he made a lot of failures. So on every Nautilus machine, which we talked about last time, this guy's got a super pullover. He paid $2,000. He said, most expensive one in his gym piece of equipment. He goes, but it's the best one I've put in my gym. I said, funny enough, I got the Nautilus chest press, which is part of my gym for $220. So you know what I mean? Like, you got the exercise, and machines are tricky. You know that. Machines are tricky. Everyone knows that. I've seen people train Nautilus machines that didn't suit them. Not everyone was made, not so much the pullover, not everyone was made for the, what's the back machines? The tricep machine.
Yeah.
I never got out of the Nautilus tricep. And I tried every way possible. I barely trained people in the gym on the tricep machine because they weren't getting much out of it. Out of the want to train.
Tricep, yeah. I think the only way, because not so much the extension, but if you can get, I think you should get higher, because the higher you have your arm, the more you feel it really pulling. That's why an overhead triceps, overhead triceps extension is so great, because you really, I mean, back in the day, if I finish a dumbbell pullover, my triceps are more pumped than when I would do a press down. After the pullover, there's so much tension, because there's also part of the triceps, of course, that you do not flip too far over, but my triceps are really blown up after that. especially with the quarter reps, what I'm doing now. I'm switching a little bit between the dumbbell pullover and the pullover I created myself with the resistance band, what I talked before already. And even then, while I don't use my hands, just have them as a balance, I feel my triceps pulling just only from this movement. And it's just really this stretch part. I mean, I think for every exercise, you have to find out the stretch part. Where is the muscle, the stretch the most? And from there you go working. And then you feel after a while, and this is what we talked already before, you feel where the exercise becomes more easy. Easy, the less hard. And I think, stop there and go back and try that for a while and see how that goes. Do not have to stretch all completely down when you fully.
Well, like I said to you before in the first interview, if you know about, like I said, my friend Ron Sowers, he got actually a textbook that they study in biology, and he read it cover to cover. That's the kind of guy he is. And he was the one that backed me up on it. He said the mice and actin, when they rub against one another, because the maximum tension is at quarter range. And we talked about this, probably about a good 2 years ago. And he kept bringing it up all the time when we were talking in different emails. I thought, and he goes, maybe you should just work the bottom part with the benches, with the curls. And I thought, really? You know, I mean, like, it didn't sit to my mind. And then one day, the penny dropped, so to speak. And I thought, yeah, he's right. And once I tried it, you know what I mean? Like, I've never looked back. But you're right. Do a curl, you can feel where the maximum is the quarter way up. And then it gets easier. Anything past halfway is easy anyway. Plus, you got the sticking point.
Yeah.
And the sticking point's always going to be a limitation, no matter who you are, unless you cheat, and that defeats the purpose anyway. Yeah. And I've seen enough girls in the gym to see one guy, he was funny actually. These two footy players, they were really macho guys, and they come in on a Friday, try to impress everyone. And you remember the old strict curls where you're standing against the wall and you do it strict? They'd stand a foot away from the wall and throw their bodies back into the wall, which defeated the purpose. I never saw those guys gain. I was surprised they didn't get injured. And they'd stand, each of them, and the other would shout at the other one. They stand about a foot away and they'd throw their bodies into the wall. And they were trying to do those strict curls. It was silly. And like I said, I saw those guys for about a year and they never changed. They were the same size, the same shape. Yeah. They didn't want to listen to that. They used to put me down because I had an article on the wall that someone found, one of my first articles. Someone found it in a bodybuilding magazine, put it on the wall. They always paid me out. But I saw the people I trained gain. I saw them,
Yeah. Yeah, because they think you're crazy when you're
it's
saying
ego.
you shoot less and you should do
Yeah.
this and should do that, and just they don't get it. And
No.
and they're even this can I say retarded people? Because they are.
We had Armando. Armando was like a short guy. He could get away with the Arnold stuff. He got the encyclopedia. He used to work in a factory all day. I'll give him a recommendation. He turned up the gym, trained for nearly 2 hours. Really short bloke, really short range of motion, full muscle bellies. He had a friend that said one day, I want to train like you. You don't want to train like me. You want to train like him. Well, fair enough. That guy lasted a month. Gained nothing with him anymore.
Yeah. There's
Armando I used to spot for him, and he was so heavy. The bench used to bend. I used to always be scared of getting my hand caught on the uprights because that's strong.
Mm-hmm.
But because he was about 5'4", built like Danny Padilla. He had that type of build, full muscle bellies, eat whatever he wants. He had abs. I went to his birthday party one time, and man, could he put it away, but no fat. I saw him compete once, and he stood out amongst everyone else. He never used anything.
No.
It's genetic.
Yeah,
but he does 2 hours a day. You see him in the gym 5 days a week. He was the only one out of the whole gym, out of all the gyms I've worked in, that gained from it. That's one, which is less than 1%.
But then even if he would do maybe half, he would get the same results.
Yeah.
We'll never know because
I tried to listen to my way. He was set in his way. So I thought, okay, it's your body. You do what you want. And he's probably still big now. He's just a massive guy. Yeah. I don't think he was ever, he was leaning on mesomorph. He was a very solid guy. Wasn't skinny joints. His squats were like, he was one of the few people that squatted in the gym. Decent depth of squats, decent weights. He gained like crazy, that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, of
but
course.
If he would have been a monster. You know what I mean? If he ever used, he would have been a monster.
Yeah, that's genetics for you.
Yeah, exactly.
You also wrote for Heart Gainer? Because I heard before.
Stu Robert back in the day.
Yeah.
And I used to write for his magazine. And he was a beautiful bloke, Stu Robert. When it folded, I wrote to him and I said, but how can I buy the missing issues? Because the way I got an issue was I used to have to order it from a little bodybuilding magazine place or little bodybuilding shop across the town. On the way home on a Friday, he'd drop off my copy. He used to arrive in the letterbox, and then he started bringing it over, and then it folded. So I wrote to Stuart and I said, how can I get the missing copies? He goes, well, what do you want? And I told him, he sent me a box. I still got it. He sent me a box of the missing issues. So I've got all the original Heart Gainers. And he was a beautiful bloke. I mean, people misunderstood Stuart. He was built like a jockey. That's why I never saw him. Fancy in one picture, I think. Built like a jockey, but it's more what he knew than what he could show. You know what I mean? And I wrote to him for a while. Then that folded. I wrote for the Heavy Duty Bulletin, which was the I.H.T. International Assistant Trainer, Associated Assistant Trainer, which is Brian Johnston. And that's an interesting story. I wrote an article he disagreed with, so he threatened to break my legs. He did. He threatened to break my legs. I said, well, you live in Canada. I live in Australia. So it's a pretty safe bet. You know what I mean? Unless you've got more legs. So then what he done, so he couldn't get sued, someone contacted me one day. They said, he's written about you. And I said, really? And what he'd done is he wrote an article in the Bodybuilding magazine. He didn't mention me by name, but you could see it was about me. And he wrote this blurb, and it was part of the H.I.T, and it was a big thing. So we had a falling out for many years. And then he came out with J-Reps. And we kind of like smoothed things over. I helped him promote it for a while. I made one guy grow arms too big. Guy contact me, Shaquille. I helped him out with, and next minute he writes me, he goes, I don't want my arms this big. I said, really? He goes, my arms are too big now. I told Brian this, he goes, I wish my arms were too big. But we smoothed things over, and Brian's kind of like gone now. He's gone very low key, and that kind of like folded after that. But he sent me a big box of the editions of the articles, and I gave them away over the years. I've only got like one left. Gave away different friends and that, so I've got one left in there. But Brian, unfortunately, he rode on Mike's coattails, as you would have known, and then he had a falling out with Mike, and he started to bag Mike, which I didn't agree with, of course. You don't bite the hand that feeds you, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But what was the magazine all about for the people who do know?
The Heavy Duty Bulletin was about, the regional obviously was all about heavy duty. It was a great, he was expressed on the consolidation routine, all Mike's stuff. But it was like a black and white, thin magazine. I'd get a free edition every month. And it was all about Mike. And then for some reason, he balked and turned completely against Mike and tried to be his own entity. So he tried to distance himself. And that was one of my last emails to Mike, actually. I wasn't in the middle, but in the way I was. I was writing for this magazine, and then I was friends with Mike Mentzer. So I felt like a bit of a Benedict Arnold, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't like what was going on. So the night before Mike died, or the night Mike died, I wrote to him a decent email, and I said, look, I told him the story, like I'm writing for this magazine. I know Brian Johnson's putting you down. I don't agree with it. And I'd like to smooth things over between you two. Not that I may have had any influence, but I tried my part, you know what I mean? And that's the night, obviously, Mike went to bed. He read it. Joe and Sharky confirmed it. He came home from filming. He read his emails. He went to bed. Blood clot released from his calf, watching his heart. The rest is history. So, yeah, I like to think at least Mike saw, if he'd have read the article or whatever that I wrote, that I was trying to do my part. I wasn't like taking sides. I was trying to be the peacemaker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sad we never got to follow up, because I really wanted to smooth things over. Because it would have hurt Mike, you know what I mean? Mike helped Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson helped Mike, and then he turned against him. I didn't like that, not in the least.
Yeah, things can happen. I mean, you can always have a disagreement about certain things, but...
Yeah, but to bag someone, you know what I mean? Bag someone who you made your name on, I think that's the lowest of low, you know what I mean? Especially once Mike died, to keep it up. I mean, I could put down Mike Mentzer now. He's been dead for how many years? But he's not around. If he was here in front of me, you wouldn't put him down. Mm-hmm. Mike would debate you on the table, you know what I mean, with logic and control. He would debate you on the table like Arthur Jones. You couldn't argue with him either. So,
Yeah. So Mike died of a heart attack?
Yeah. I woke up in the morning, and I got many emails from around the world, and I thought, this can't be true. I wrote to him the night beforehand. So I woke up in the morning. I checked with someone I relied on, Richard Weiner. And I said, Richard, does Mike Mentzer pass? Because people send rubbish. And he said, yeah, he died during the night. So I was devastated. I mean, I had a 2-year-old at the time. My then wife went to work. We used to go for massive walks. And I just couldn't comprehend it. You know what I mean? Like, he's gone. And then after 2 weeks, I remember one night, I thought, eventually I'll tell her. That's why we're divorced now. It's like me telling her there's a fly in the window, I said, Mike Mentzer died the other week. Oh, really? Yeah, okay. It's all about you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it took me years to get over it. But through it, I got in contact with Joe and Sharky. We became close. We became really good friends. We talked about the most personal things you can imagine. It wasn't just about bodybuilding. And she shared stuff with me which she wouldn't share with anybody else, and helped out with legal battles and many other things. And before she died, I'd written her a big email, and unfortunately, she passed. But there's a lot more that Joanne was going to do, but people don't realize that she was limited too. She wasn't making money out of this. She was doing it out of the goodness of her heart. It was taking a heavy toll. And after her husband died, that took a bigger toll on her. And I could see the difference. And that's why I try to help her out with articles. The voice of Mike Mentzer, I helped her out with that. And I try to do the best I could for Jo. And she's a lovely lady. She was a really lovely lady if you knew her. The reason she had to be so staunch about the copyright was because that was what she was left with. One minute she had Mike and Ray, next minute she didn't, and everything fell on her. And she wasn't ready for that. You know what I mean? Who is? So she had to carry a big, heavy burden. But there was going to be a lot more. People don't realize she was working on a book, which a few of my photos were going to be in there. There was going to be another release of Mike Mentzer's books. But the reason there wasn't, she sent me, I've still got it on my email somewhere. I'll try to find it today for this interview. The price of getting a quality, and we're talking about quality here, printing of a book is thousands of dollars. You know, she didn't want to settle for like cheap paper.
Yeah.
She wanted to keep Mike's legacy. And Mike would only accept, useful heavy duty too, of good quality material. And she sent me the price they sent her to get, I think you had to do so many, I can't remember off the top of my head, so many thousands. We're talking about, and this really just grabbing at straws, I think the outlay was something like $3,000 or something, $2,000 or $3,000. She goes, I don't have that money.
No.
And she goes, I want to do it, obviously because all the fans, but she just didn't have the means. So people bag her saying, oh, well, she didn't do this and she didn't do that and she let this run out.
Yeah.
She tried her best. She
She
really tried.
She was in her mid-70s, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was struggling. Her husband passed. I could see the difference in our emails, the difference in the stuff that we discussed. Her demeanor was a little bit, I want to say, quieter. You know what I mean? She became a bit more inward. Yeah. She was struggling a lot more, having the responsibility. And even she said about wrapping up, she says, I don't know if I can do this much longer. I thought, well, you've kept it going for quite a few years. But if she'd had the money, I know that for a fact, the books would probably be available now even. And she'd bring out, you know, the original Heavy Duty book, the Heavy Duty 2. She was even looking at doing a revamped version of the Mike Mentzer's second book, the Heavy Duty Journal. That was the big one going to bring out. And she's working on that now for a fact. But the one with the photos, she had photos that only she had, and some photos I shared. She goes, how'd you get these? And I've got a massive Mike Mentzer collection. You can imagine my hard drive. I've actually got a folder, pictures that probably you've never seen. I only share so many. And I sent her a few. She goes, how'd you get these? I said, oh, you know, like I've been collecting for 40 years. I got things that, you know, probably not a lot of people have got. But the thing with Joanne is that people misunderstood her. You know what I mean? She was the gatekeeper. She had a lot of people challenging her, which we talked about before. Val Siegel, Marcus Reinhardt. And there's a lot of legalities involved. And I helped her as much as possible. I sent her, she asked me, my lawyer wants this. I go through my system and find what she wanted. I send it to her and they used it in court. So, you know, like I live in Australia. You know, like I've only got what I've got to give her, but I had enough to provide what she wanted, which made me feel good. You know, I mean, she didn't need to have the angst. You know, she had people saying they had the rights to this, the rights that, no. Mike Mentzer left his legacy to Jo and Sharky. Yeah. It's black and white. Do you know what I mean? It's black and white as that. Val Siegel, he thinks he owns it because he made the film. He didn't. Marcus Reinhardt was in the last film. He didn't. He never will. There's other people who challenged her too because they had association with Mike Mentzer. She had to take on a lot of responsibility. Even keep people away from Mike who were using him towards the end. She told me, she goes, I had to keep people away. Mike had such a generous nature. He'd let people in his house. And she said, I knew this was bad. But, you know, it's not for her to say, she's not his wife, but she tried her best to distance people that were using Mike for his name, his reputation, his money. People, you know, he's generous Mike, you probably know that. And people use Mike. You know, people don't think Mike was that way, but Mike was very generous. He sent me at his expense, I've still got it somewhere. I don't know exactly, I think it's in that cupboard over there. He sent me an article that was never published. He knew I'd be impressed. So he goes, I sent it to Joe Weider and all these other people, and they rejected it. And I go, well, I'd like to read it. He goes, do you want it? I said, well, yeah. So Mike sent me this article, and it's very deep. I can see why it got rejected. A very deep article. I had to read it a couple of times to fathom it. And that was his own expense. That cost him like $20 to send it to me. You know, it's Mike. You know, he made nothing out of it. He just knew I was interested. He knew that he got an audience, so he sent it to me. And that's the kind of guy Mike.
What was the article all about? More
philosophy,
philosophy or?
Yeah, it was training mixed with philosophy, but Weeder would have balked at it, you know what I mean? Because it was very deep in terms of the principles.
It doesn't make money, yeah.
That's right.
It
Joe Weeder said no straight away. He goes, "Do you want it?" I said, "Well, yeah." And he photocopied it for me and sent it to me. And deep, it was a big article. I had to read it at least 2 or 3 times to get it through my head. But like I said, I've still got it somewhere. It may even be with my heavy duty book, my signed heavy duty book. But I've got certain things I've stuck away, never to see again. You know what I mean? Like all my original heavy duty courses, my signed books don't come out of the case. That article, I put it neatly back, sealed it back over. You know, all my tank tops, they're neatly stacked away. My windsheater, my windsheaters, my t-shirts. You know, you can't get this stuff, as you know.
Yeah, it's all shut down. Yeah, it's not really big business at this moment. I mean,
No.
Mike is popular, but all these things, what I'm doing and what you're doing, we all do it because for the love of the sport and keep the heavy duty name alive. We don't get rich from it.
Well, there's going to be more to come. Like I said, there's going to be more to come. You wait at the end of this year. There's going to be more to come.
Yeah, don't surprise anything because I heard a little bit of don't.
I mean, I'm surprised what's to come. So yeah.
Yeah. Something that I don't do because I feel if I do this, then I feel old. Dorian Yates did it because he was sleeping 8 hours a day, and then in the afternoon he took after his workout 2-hour naps, and you do it also. The power of naps.
I've taught everyone I know. I studied this back in the 80s, believe it or not. And if you look at Mexicans, siestas are part of their lifestyle. They also live to a great old age. It's probably not well known. I looked into this so deeply. The presidents all nap. All the presidents nap. I think going back to, I can't remember the president I've found out, all the presidents nap. Everyone who's ever known me, my girlfriends, my friends, I all get them into naps. I went to the Kevin Larone seminar, who was once a training partner of Dorian Yates. And he came down from his hotel suite above the seminar, massive tracksuit I talked about last time. And someone in the audience said, "What's your secret of getting big?" And straight out with a hesitation, he goes, "One of my secret." He goes, "Naps." He said, "I just had a nap before I came down here." And I found the same way. Before I'd done the consolidation routine, I'd nap for 20 minutes and then I'd train. If you nap, you've got to do it 20 to 30 minutes. If you sleep in past that time zone, that's when you go into the REM sleep. And when you wake up sluggish, you can't work out what day of the week it is and what you're supposed to do. You've got to go the whole hour. There you go. So if you go 20 or 30 minutes, you're okay. If you slip past 30 minutes, you've got to do the whole hour to be refreshed. So if you wake up between the 30-minute mark and the 60-minute mark, then you'll be sluggish. So I've taught myself, when I was working for the highways department, which was a very heavily physical job, this was crazy the way I had it done with fine tea. Also through my hypnosis from my doctor at the time, we had half an hour. So I'd be working on roads, digging and everything. We had lunch at 1 o'clock. We'd eat 1 to 1:15. We'd sleep from 1:15 to 1:30. That's how much I had it down to a fine art. And my doctor taught me to tense the muscles starting my feet, relax them, go through my body, your calves, your quads, your glutes, your stomach, your lower back, your lats, your chest, your shoulders, work your way down, and you work your way up through your neck. And then you try to look at your eyelids, which you can't do if your eyes are shut, of course. Then look back into your body. By the time you got then, you're asleep. As crazy as it sounds, because you're actually looking backwards, and it's so dark, of course, in your head, that if you look back and down into your head, it's as black can be. So I done that every time we had a nap, and I was asleep within a minute or two. No, I had a doctor who was heavily into running, so probably how he got into his running. And that's before my hypnosis. I was about, probably 10 years before my hypnosis. But they're really, and I nap every day now, I guarantee you. All my friends joke about it, but they nap as well. You know what I mean? It's always a joke with my friends, I nap. And that's what I do. I mean, I'm up about 5 in the morning to walk my dog. I train anywhere between 6 and 7. I try to get a nap. Even when I've worked at different places, I've napped. It's not hard if you plan it, you know what I mean? Like, you got to plan it. Donny Yates, that was his job, so he could do it easily. Being you don't have the luxury sometimes, but if you plan it, you can do it. I don't care who you are. Like, when I was doing transcendental meditation when I was 16, this guy taught me it, and I didn't know about sleeping or napping then. I didn't know about meditation so much in terms of hypnosis. And I was working in a fabric shop, very heavy work, dirty work. And I went to where I was working and I'd meditate for 15 minutes. So again, I'd eat 15, meditate for 15. And that worked for me back in 78. So, you know what I mean? You always can plan into your schedule if you want. And because it's such a big part of your day, you're rejuvenating your batteries, you're rejuvenating your mind, rejuvenating your cells. People don't realize, I mean, it seems such a little thing, but it's so powerful. And Donny Yates had the smarts to realize after his heavy workout, after he ate, put the nutrients back in and rejuvenate your body. Kevin Rohn learned from him, of course, and we saw how big Kevin Rohn got, very close to Donny at one stage. But yeah, I love napping. I mean, it's just people say, how do you nap? You nap. You know what I mean? I lay down, you nap.
Yeah, I have this also when I just fall asleep during the day, and it's just for 5 or 10 minutes, then I feel already completely different.
That's the minimum. The minimum is 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, many times I just fall asleep and I wake up after 1 hour, and then I'm ruined for the rest of the day.
If you don't go the full REM, that's when you're in the REM sleep, when you wake up. And that's when you decide. I've done it myself. I done it the other week, actually. I went for a big walk with my dog. It was hot. I got home, and once I went late, and I woke up. I couldn't work out what day of the week it was. When am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? But that's very rare. That's like once every few months I'll do that. But today I had a nap for exactly half an hour, believe it or not. I fell asleep around 1 o'clock. I was awake at 1:30. So perfect.
About Mike's death, Mike's health problems, and also from his brother Ray, of course. What do you think? Because so much speculation.
Mike tore his tricep. He had a torn tricep. He fell downstairs in his condo. People don't know much, but he ripped his tricep towards the end. He had knee problem.
When it was when he tore his triceps?
Death. He was walking down his condo steps. I talked to Marcus Reinhardt, I think, about it, and he fell down the steps, ripped his tricep. He had neck problems, the heavy squats, the quarter squats with Casey Vierta, quarter squat.
Yeah, the top part, not the bottom part.
No, that's why he was dead against it when we talked about it. But yeah, he had neck problems. But you got to remember, as I said before, none of the Mentzer males last in their 50s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, his father didn't live in his 50s. If you look at his family tree, none of the Mentzer lasts in their 50s. My father turned 98 last Monday. You know what I mean? Genetics are genetics, no matter what. So with Mike, I don't think him or Ray, regardless what they've done, would live to a ripe age. It's not there. I mean, Casey Vierta, I talked to him a week before he died. You know what I mean? I talked to Casey Vierta, I ordered his book. He signed it for me. A week later, I wake up, he died in his kitchen or whatever, heart attack. And, if that's your time, that's your time.
Yeah.
So I don't think Mike would have had a ripe age. Bruce Lee was never going to live to a ripe age either. For all his skills, it's just not in the genes.
Yeah. But I was also heavily smoking, of course. If I see, you
smoking.
You see this videos that they were shooting during the shoot with the workout with Marcus Reinhardt, and you see him one cigarette after the other. That was
the Arthur Jones and Iron Rand influence. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that also doesn't help, of course.
No. I mean, Ray, as you know, he had problems anyway, and dialysis and everything. Mike was going to donate a kidney. That's what I heard, because they're compatible being brothers. I never got to that stage, of course. And, from what I understand from people I've talked to, and I've talked to many people, not so much Joan, we tried to take off because she got upset about it.
Yeah.
But, from my understanding, from what I know, blood clot release, Mike had other heart attacks that he wasn't aware of. That particular night, it released from his calf, traveled around his body, lodged in his heart, which is how my heart stopped about 2 years ago. I lodged in his heart valve and he died.
Yeah.
So that's my understanding. Everyone I've talked.
Yeah, and when because we do not want to discredit Mike, we don't have to we don't want to bash him. We just want to know about the truth because there's so much crap around, so much bullshit stories.
I know it
Because
says
he was a
steroids.
because
You
yeah,
know,
he
I
was
mean, you
yeah
work how many years Mike would have been off steroids by the time he died. He would
yeah
have stopped steroids pretty much after 1980 Mr. Olympia because he didn't compete against. So you got 1980. He died in what 2002. So you know what I mean. You got all those years later. You can't say the steroids he took back then suddenly killed him all those years later.
no
That's to me like, improbable. You know.
yeah, and he did it because of all his injuries. Of course, he also didn't train so
Yeah.
much or didn't train at all. And
Well, last time he was using his heavy duty 2 routine. I asked John Little, he said last time he saw him train, he was using his own routines.
yeah
So even though he'd done too much in his prime, which he readily admitted, he done less towards the end as he understood. So here's someone with even better genetics than me and you combined, and he was taking his own medicine. You know what I mean? So
but he
he
was
realized he need less.
But did he, on his later age, was on some testosterone replacement treatment,
Not
or
that
because yeah, when
look at
you
Mike, he doesn't look like he was enhanced at the end.
no, yeah, and I think maybe that's also a little bit of a problem when you're using, or can we say
Yeah.
abusing, male testosterone for many years, then it's very hard for your body to pick up the
Exactly.
testosterone production, and as a man,
Yeah.
a male, a female also, we need testosterone in certain levels. So if
But we
that's
talked
too
about
low,
steroids. Mike wasn't against steroids. We talked about it, and he
no,
asked me, "Want to go that direction?" I said, "Well, no. You know, I mean, I was offered everything at one time or another through my life, working in gyms and everything. And as I said to you before, I was offered insulin. You know, which was the big thing in the '90s with
yeah,
Kevin Moreau, or that with Tim Belknap. And I talked to Mike, and I said, you know, and he said, if you want to go that way, he said, you'll grow like a weed anyway. And he was pretty much right. Once he got me on his consolidation routine, getting back to that, I grew. So I didn't need it, if you know what I mean.
yeah,
But Mike knew that. He trained people that were enhanced, like David Paul and so on. And I used to talk to David Dirth before he died. And he trained people who were natural. So his system, how do I want to say it, varied, but the basis was the same. And it worked for enhanced. It worked, you know, for David Paul and so on. And it worked for natural people. So, you know, but Mike himself, I've never heard about him using towards the end. There's no reason. Like Mike said, he just used for the competition. Dorian
yeah,
Yates was saying Dorian Yates now, you know.
yeah. But I think
It's,
when because Dorian Yates also still is on testosterone, because yeah, if your body doesn't make it anymore because of all the use, then it can also of course decline your whole health if you
yeah,
have almost to zero testosterone yourself, of course.
yeah. That's why I keep it creatine. Creatine, that'll do me a teaspoon a day.
Yeah, yeah. It's or that, or stay the natural route and keep your own testosterone going.
Yeah.
Or yeah, you ruined it and you have to, in fact, stay on this testosterone replacement
Well,
treatment
you know,
just
a little
to stay
story. I don't know.
healthy.
Remember Danny Padilla?
Yeah,
Someone told me within, because it's all he's got in his life. I'm not putting him down, that's just him. Within 2 weeks of his heart operation, went straight back.
yeah,
You know, like if that's not a warning sign,
yeah.
what are you going to do? Knocked over the head, you know? But if that's all you've got, that's all you'll ever know. And
Yeah.
that is your worth as a man, or, you know, that is your life. It's his decision. But within 2 weeks of having his heart operation to go back, I can't fathom it personally.
Yeah.
But it's not, you know, good luck to him. He's still
And
around. One of the chances still around, funny enough.
and do you know a little bit about the difference between workout programs that Mike prescribed for naturals or enhanced? Because if I read in the wisdom of Mike Mentzer from John Little, and I
Yeah.
see the program that he put Dorian Yates through, is of course
Oh, yeah.
more volume, the frequency is a little bit higher.
That was
And
back in the day.
yeah, and if
He might,
it,
I mean,
and it,
even said, it's in his notes even, he said, Kevin, he said, you're part of an experiment. And he was honest. He knew it was an experiment. You know, I mean, that's all he could do. So the routine he had me on, which we discussed last time, was the 3-way split. That's back in the day where you used to do torso on the Monday, delts and arms on the Wednesday, for example, and legs on a Friday. But when he gave me a routine, even Mike was, what's the word I want to use? I don't want to say wishy-washy, but that's probably the best word for it. When he gave me the routine, I wrote it down. I actually taped the conversation. I got it in cassette. I just got to find the cassette. Someone bought it for me years ago, made him a copy, didn't charge him anymore. I sent him a copy of the cassette. And I said, Mike, what frequency? And he paused. It was the only time I had the conversation. Mike was not certain, you know what I mean? Like I said, what frequency, Mike? He goes, oh, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So even then, that's 95. Mike was still trying to get the frequency right. So he was trying to do the same with the volume. So then he went to the consolidation routine, which was a big step, the others, you know. So he knew the answer laid somewhere in the middle. And I talked to someone, going back a couple of years ago, and I don't want to raise a controversy about this, but I talked to someone who got him alone and talked to him in the gym. And he realized that he painted himself into a corner. You know, he was seen suddenly as the consolidation guy, and he realized he'd painted himself in a corner. And I heard that he was going to start adding to his system. I mean, we'll never know. Mike's passed now. But I'd love to see, and I've said this many, many years, I'd love to see heavy duty 2024 versus heavy duty 1978, you know. They would have been similar as a basis, but there would have been completely different programs. You know what I mean? You saw how much Mike changed from 78 to 90. He would have changed more towards into the 2000s. And the version nowadays would have been more accurate, if you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. As Mike learned more training. He trained thousands, we know that. He did have records, despite what everyone says he did have records, because I rang him and he took my information down. I told him what I was gaining, he kept records. But the recommendation that he gave, as he said, just a baseline. That's all I can do. If I was going to give you a routine now, I can't say to you, do 10 sets. I don't know you. I'm not in your body, you know what I mean? I can tell you what I know, train of people I know in my own body over the years. But then you've got to take that away and say, well, no, I can't do one set of squats unless I do leg extension or pre-exhaust my quads first, you know what I mean? And Mike was like that. I said to him about pre-exhaustion, and people think he was hung up on it. Mike wasn't hung up on pre-exhaustion. I asked him, I said, what about pre-exhaustion? He goes, I don't get hung up on it. It's very, you know, he was still learning. Remember, he was a trainer only from about 1990. I talked to him in 95 when I first became a client. He was very open-minded, and he was developing the system. So Mike, if he was alive today and you rang him up and said, oh, look, Mike, you know, what do you recommend? It would be in the same principles. That wouldn't change, but the way you applied them would change. You know what I mean? Like, he only gave me half a rep on curls. That was it. When you went to failure, he goes, find the sweet spot. You guys get someone to stop it with their fingers and give you just a bit of momentum and get it at half a rep. No more. Not another set, not another rep, not even a full rep, half a rep. So he was becoming aware that he wasn't, not everyone's Ray Mentzer, not everyone's Mike Mentzer. What they got away with on their bodies, he tried to apply when he came back and realized, hey, not everyone can do force reps and negatives and, you know, pre-exhaustion. So he became very reserved. That's probably a great word. And with my routines, they were very, very reserved, really. Even when I used to listen to him all the time on the tape. And I thought, wow, Mike is really reserved. I thought he would say, because of my advanced stage and knowing what I know, I thought he would have said, I do a force rep here. But no, I said, what about static holds? And excited as Mike was about it, he said every second week. I said, that's it? He goes, yeah, because don't use them all the time. I went, okay. But you know what I mean? Like, people think they read it in a book or they hear it on a video. Oh, you've got to do statics, you've got to do pre-exhaustion, you've got to do force reps, you've got to do negatives. Mike wasn't like that in the least. He really wasn't.
And that's the point of understanding. Yeah. Understanding what you need to do and understanding what you can do, what you can recover from. I think when you do a superset pre-exhaust leg extension squat, it gives you the stimulus, but it also is a very hard on your nervous system. So from the nervous system, you already have to recover longer. Then, in fact, maybe the muscles you can train them again, maybe a little bit sooner than what your nervous system can handle. So it's not...
when people challenge me, I mean, I've had people challenge me, but Mike said this. No. Mike said, he goes, I'm not God. I've got no special insight to your human body. He was straight up about it. he didn't claim to know everything. He said it took years to learn that 1 set was better than 2. Like Arthur Jones took years to learn 2 was better than 3, then 1 was better than 2. Mike was the same way. And as a personal trainer, he trained everyone slightly different, but it was the same baseline. You know what I mean? It was the same, go to failure, find out your maximum volume or your minimum volume, I should say, find out your frequency and work from there. So what I can recuperate, and I've got pretty good recuperative abilities. My father, a good example, my father's 98. He cut his arm open the other week because he's got paper thin skin. He got bandaged up. I looked at his arm today. It's pretty well healed. He only done it like the other week. And that's the recuperative abilities I've got. So I can train more than the average person, but I don't, if you know what I mean, because I know why. You know what I mean? Why would I put extra stress on my central nervous system, my joints, the mental psyching up at my stage to psych up to my workout, especially your legs. You know what I mean? It doesn't come easy.
No.
I get on things sometimes on my leg side and I start thinking, wow, is this the day, you know? I used to want to die doing a 1,000-pound squat. I got obsessed with Mike with his squats. And I remember once, going back probably 88, I wanted to die with a 1,000-pound squat. I'd be happy to do this 1,000 pound then die, you know? That was like Tom Platt's mentality too.
Yeah.
That's silly.
Yeah, and it can wreck you in the. I say that's the thing that people should understand, and I think the perfect workout lies somewhere between the consolidation program and the ideal program.
Yeah.
And for you, you have to find out which exercises are working for you.
Yeah.
And what frequency you can train.
I can train more than most. Like I said, I could probably train, even though Mike never said to do it, I could train 2 days in a row. I know I can, but why would I?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I train today, I probably could hit legs tomorrow or back tomorrow. Why?
Yeah.
You know, your body's a unit and it gets worked as a unit, as you know. So be taking away from my recuperative abilities. Why?
Yeah.
I'd rather rest for the next 2 days, get enough protein and everything, and then train again.
You can do this. You could do this, of course, 2 days in a row, but then how many days you have to rest to recover from those 2 workouts, because you start already with a body that it's not recovered. The muscles, okay, there's no problem if you train your legs, and especially when you do isolation exercises, because when you're doing a squat, your back is going to be compromised, your shoulders, your arms, because of holding off. It's working also your calves. So if the next day you want to work your back, and that's also a problem with people who split up the back routine with the biceps or the chest routine with the triceps. So they split them up. If you do your chest exercise, your shoulders are compromised, your triceps are compromised. So when you want to do your triceps, you have to first recover from that before you can do your triceps again.
That's the thing, these bro splits, you've seen the bro splits where Monday's chest day. It's always been chest day. Any gym I've worked in, Monday's chest day. It's after the weekend, you know. So Monday's always chest day. Normally legs, if they work, they're the end of the week anyway. Some tack on the end. Normally Friday I saw people squatting in the most of the gyms I worked in. Only then a handful of people train legs. But you know what I mean? Like each time they're training, like you said, they're taking away from their bodies. I don't care even if you're just doing a bicep curl. Mike learnt that more and more. That's why he only gave me half a rep. Half a rep sounds like nothing, but he knew once you reach failure, another half a rep is all it took. Yeah. You know, why do a negative and then do a static hold and then get someone to force it to the top? And, you know, I mean, that's how him and Ray trained back in the day. And he didn't know any better. You've got to be honest. Plus he was genetics, plus the usage, of course. But then when he became a trainer, he realized not everyone can handle that. I mean, you had Racy, which is the other end of the scale. They had to do the consolidation routine to see anything. Then you got David Paul and who was the other huge guy he trained? David Paul, Aaron Baker, and he had them do a little bit more. Dorian Yates had them do a little bit more. I probably fall in the mid-range myself within reason. I probably lean more towards them, my recuperative, not my genetics, but my recuperative abilities. Some people may be racies. You know what I mean? Who knows if they're a racy until you try it. Some people need 2 weeks before they can train again. You know, it's just the way nature is. It's like the sun. You know, I've got English skin. So if I go out in the sun, I can't take much of the sun. You know, I burn. My Dorian Yates found the same way. You can't go in the sun long, I'll burn.
Yeah.
I've got a mate who go out all day, every day. He's got olive skin. He never burns. You know, but he can't train much. I've trained.
Yeah, but genetics for everybody different. So yeah, there's no one size fits all for training.
No, and that's what's I've argued with people for years. Not argued. I put my point across. To block heavy duty into this is heavy duty, you can't do that. You know what I mean? Like people try to do it to me all the time. Like, oh, but heavy duty is it? No, heavy duty isn't this. It's like saying Jeet Kune Do is this. Yeah. Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee hated naming it because suddenly once he named it, it's known as Jeet Kune Do. You know what I mean? He didn't want that. It's a free system, and heavy duty is freer than what people think. It's got the principles. Everything's got principles. You make a car, it's still got to have 4 wheels within reason. It's got to have a steering wheel. It's got to have an engine. It's got to have a steering rack. It's got to have a gearbox. You know what I mean? But you can have a Ferrari and you can have a Volkswagen. They're still cars, but they're vastly different cars. You know what I mean? And same with training. I've got to still lift heavy. Still got a failure. I've got to still make sure that I progress. That's the most important. And I've got to make sure I recuperate. So if I get all those 4 things, I'm doing the best I can do with my genetics. But for me to follow your routine or you to follow my routine, you know what I mean? I could probably train more than you. You can maybe train more than me. You know, it's just it is.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we leave it like this. And we talk certainly next time again because there's still a lot to discuss.
I enjoy talking about this stuff. Like I said, it keeps Mike alive, keeps his name out there. Yeah. And someone said to me today, funny enough, they met Mike Mentzer on a pier by fluke, and he said, Mike Mentzer would be proud that he kept his legacy alive. And that's the best I can do. You know, I live in Australia, I don't live in America. I'm involved with a few projects here and there. I wrote the book to keep the legacy alive. And that's my part to play, to give back what Mike gave to me. You know, he never bum-steered me. He kept me in the right direction. He saved my joints. He saved my sanity.
That's the most important.
What days left of it? No.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kevin. And,
thank you.
I'll see you next time.
Take care. Bye-bye.